Good morning, everyone. So today started out with the sunshine and the snow has finally melted, and there's a cute little bird hanging out in this tree here. This video is going to be a little different than what I've been doing. I'm using my Procreate program on my iPad, and I'm using different paintbrushes to see what kind of pictures I can come up with. So I'm using the Quoll brush, Quoll, and I'm just practicing mark making, and usually a picture will start to form, and this is going to turn into a chicken. That's what I saw when I made a few brush strokes. I was seeing lots of feathers on the tail there, so I'm just drawing the rest of it in here. So this is a really great exercise to get your creative juices flowing. I like to try all the different brushes in the Procreate program on my iPad and just practice scribbling and seeing what kind of pictures can emerge. So now that I've given him an orange wattle and a comb, I'm lightening the purple and putting in some highlights around his face and trying to find his wing on the side here. I'm also going in and trying to redefine those feathers, the tail feathers, give them a little bit of curl. I also gave my purple chicken purple talons. I guess his nails are painted. I'm also going back into the darker purple color to darken some of the feathers in the back. Okay, so now I've selected my bouquet lights brush and I'm putting in some bouquet lights around him. And I thought this kind of looked like it could be corn. I know I've done a lot of food theme paintings lately, so just kind of got food on the brain, I guess. But chickens like to eat lots of corn. So here's some corn cobs for you. I thought it looked like it was kind of raining corn on the ground. So I thought it would be funny if I put "It's raining corn." It's kind of like that song, "It's raining men," but it's raining corn because chickens like to eat corn. Yeah, I would say playing around with these brushes really opens up the creative side of your brain, and your mind will go into really random places when you do these exercises. And this painting is getting a little corny, but that's okay. Now I'm going to use the Pandani and dry ink brush to create carrot people. And I got this idea from Bob Blast videos. I don't know if you guys ever watch him, but he's really awesome. And he tries to keep everything really painterly and loose. But the idea is to draw carrot shapes and put little dots on their head and then try to pick out their clothing and kind of how they're all standing. And you can play around with it, and maybe one of them might have a leg sticking out or an arm sticking a certain way. But if you've never seen his videos, I would highly recommend you go check out Bob Burridge. He does Bob Blast videos here on YouTube. So I'm looking at these carrot people and trying to pick out their pants and their waist. And I was thinking it could be a snowy scene and I could have them standing in snow, and since it's on a black background, this seems to be at night too. And the guy on the far left, he looks like he's wearing a dress coat and maybe has his hands in his pocket with his back away from us. We can't see the fronts of their faces. I think they're all facing the other way. And I think the figure on the far right seems to have a feminine kind of shape, and I think it's a male in the middle. So I'm still trying to pick out details in their clothing, and I've gone back into this figure on the left, and it looks like I'm giving him maybe a white collar to go with his dress jacket. And this Pandani brush that I'm using seems to make really good snow patches on the ground here. So I thought I would give this lady on the far right a red dress. Now I'm trying to go in and pick out some flesh tones on their faces and the backs of their necks, and also trying to give them some hair. So I thought this lady with the red dress on would look good with a blonde bob haircut. So now I'm just going in and refining things and darkening this guy's hair on the far left. And I just gave him an ear, it looks like, with a little sideburn. And it looks like I'm expanding the white collar around these two guys' necks and messing around with the lady's face. I also decided she would look good with some black cuffs around her neck and her wrists. And I'm also going to go in and put some snowflakes falling around them. So I thought this group of people almost look like carolers, like a quartet, except there's not four of them, so they're a trio of singers out here in the snow, maybe. So again, I'm going in on this red dress, or maybe it's a coat, and just going in and cinching in the waist and putting in some shadows. Also looks like I've given her a singing mouth, and the guy in the middle, I think I shrunk his head a little bit and gave him a haircut. And the guy on the far left, it looks like he's just gonna stay really broad-shouldered, big burly guy over there. And the guy in the middle, he's more like a Brad Pitt shaped head. I'd say the guy on the far left, he's more like a Tony Soprano, big bulky kind of guy. And maybe the girl, she's more like a Lisa Kudrow from Friends. So I've decided to make some alterations to the guy in the middle. I think he's wearing a very long coat. I'm pretty sure he's wearing a tuxedo coat. I also changed her red heels to red boots, it looks like. Let me know in the comments what Christmas song you think these carolers are singing. See, I told you he's Brad Pitt. I have to give him some blonde highlights in his hair. So the very best way to warm up your drawing skills is to write your name. Sounds so simple, but it's true. So now I'm trying out this Cura Wong texture brush. It's pretty cool. I'm really just scribbling lines and seeing what it looks like. And I thought this white shape kind of look like a foot with toes, and I'm putting this flesh tone color on top of it. And the funny thing is, these toes, I guess there's 6 of them, and it starts with the big toe and ends with the big toe. But as Bob Ross says, there are no mistakes, only happy accidents. And this is your painting, so you can make it however you want to make it. So we are really just experimenting here with these brushes and using our imagination to see what kind of shapes we can see with our scribbles. And incidentally, I was going to tell you that we used to have a 6-toed cat. I believe they're called polydactyl cats, or some people call them Hemingway cats. So I guess some people and cats can have 6 toes. Also, there's a cat down the street, and he has a bobtail, so it naturally occurs that way. And funny enough, they actually named him Bob because of his bobtail. I thought that was kind of funny. I've also heard bobtailed cats referred to as Manx cats. And let me know in the comments if you've ever owned a Manx cat before. So you'll notice I've jotted down some notes about different things that you can do with the brushes and the settings. So I really just like to play around with the brushes and the settings to see what kind of unusual effects I can come up with. And I played around with the jitter and the percentage, and I came up with this cool popcorn like stamp, which I've used in other paintings. You can actually see at my last video I used this popcorn setting. Okay, now I'm using the grunge brush and the Cura brush again, starting with mark making. And I'm starting to see the shape of a man. It looks like some arms, legs, head, torso. So I'm just going with that image and starting to refine it and take some things out. And here's my little man. But I didn't really like the way he was shaped, so I am deciding to draw him in a different way. And I started thinking about bodybuilding. My son's really into bodybuilding, so I was like, I'm gonna make him into a bodybuilder who's striking a pose. So my son's always running into the room like, hey mom, check out this pose. He's very excited about all of his bodybuilding gains. So this really turned out to be a drawing for my son and something that I thought would make him laugh. You'll see by the end. So this guy started reminding me of Sam Sulek, famous YouTube bodybuilder that he is obsessed with watching all the time. So this ends up being Sam Sulek. So I'm using this grunge brush to paint in a popcorn bin, and went back to my Cura brush and put in some popcorn. And I thought it looked like he was either posing or maybe he was dunking popcorn like a basketball player. So my next drawing is of a snowman, snow woman couple, and I drew this for my coworker who had recently gotten married, and I was just using all the same brushes I had used before, with the addition of some glow brushes. There's a lot of cool glowy brushes that you can find in Procreate. So just putting in some highlights from the moonlight on this snowman and snowwoman. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully you can have some fun with Procreate and just playing around and doing some mark making, seeing what kind of images show through.